Hi everyone, and welcome to another interview training session from Exceptional Tuition and Resumes. My name is Monique Jeremiah and I'm the Director of Exceptional Tuition and Resumes. Our company is a specialist in providing nursing and construction-based resumes, cover letters, selection criteria, LinkedIn and interview training. But for today's purpose, we are going to focus on interview skills and tricks to help you ace your interviews. And we are going to focus in a general sense because we deal with applicants from all industries. So that's why today we are going to be running down the tips that we believe will help you as a job seeker to be super confident in your interview, regardless of what job role, what level you're going for, and what industry. Okay, so let's jump right onto it. So I'm going to give you 20 tips that are going to build your confidence in interviews and make you an outstanding interviewee. So, first of all, research the industry and the company that you are applying for. So, when you go for your interview, it's going to be very obvious that you get asked the question, so what do you know about our company? And this is going to be your opportunity to identify to the recruiter that you've done your homework. That means the night before or the morning before your interview, you jump onto their website and you read nicely about their About Us section, check out our team section, check out the project section on the company website, and also grab that job description and job advertisement that you applied for, because right there is going to be the information you need to summarize the company. As a job applicant, you need to know what is their services and key products, who maybe is the founder of the business, how long they've been around, and also who is their main customers, okay? And what is the industry that the company actually operates in? Because you, as a job applicant, you're going to be going into that company and you're going to be part of the team. So you need to know where you stand. And if someone asks you about, the business you work for, you can easily talk about the company. In terms of the industry, you also need to be able to consider who do you think is the competitors of the business, because depending on your role, you might be working as a business development manager, or you might be part of the social media marketing team or the marketing team. And so you need to know who you're going to be competing against, who is taking the market share of the business that you're interviewing for. And then just understand, what are some of the key projects that you may be potentially working with, and just know where does the business fit in the actual whole environment and the whole picture. Another question you're going to be asked about is, why do you want the job? And this is where you need to clarify what's your passion for the job title, what's your passion for working for that company, and what is your genuine reasons for applying? Because as I said always in my videos, be honest. Be honest. People love honesty and they appreciate the authenticity that comes from you. So have that ready to go of your selling points of why you want this particular job. And it might be that it's for your career progression. It might be because you want a change of career. Maybe you have a family history in the industry. Maybe you realize that you're actually very good at something and this is your chance to now excel in the profession by applying for this particular job. So clarify your selling points, okay? Your actual selling points. And then think about how are you going to promote your interest in the job, okay? And you should answer the question with, I would really like to work in this position because, and I would really appreciate the opportunity to work for this company because. And again, there's your chance to put a little bit of butter and show them why you are perfect for the job and the company. The third point is anticipate or guess what the interviewer's concerns may be when they're interviewing. Now, this is a different way to approach an interview because you may think as a candidate, they're just going to ask you set questions, but in the back of the recruiter's mind, they may be actually thinking about any worries about, what is the risk of having you as an employee. So it might be to do with, your lack of skills, quite potentially, or maybe the time in your life that you're applying for the job. So you need to be anticipating what is the potential risk and how are you going to overcome it. And, if you do lack something potential, and it might just be a small element in terms of your knowledge, you should come up with, I'm really willing to learn new software or undertake any training to improve my knowledge and skills. And that'll show that your recruiter that you are willing to go beyond the job to make sure you are competent in the future. Okay, so think about the concerns and the worries that the recruiter might have, and then think of what would be your potential comeback if it does come up, and make your comeback positive, okay? Because you want to bring positivity to the company you're applying for. What else? Prepare common interview questions. So there is a myriad of questions that you could be encountering in your interview. So you need to think very carefully before your job interview of, what do you think they're going to ask me? What kind of behavioral questions? What yes/no questions? What example-based questions? And what skills-based questions are they going to ask? And that awareness or anticipation of interview questions will come from your ability to know the job you're applying for and know the company that you're applying for. Okay, so really, as I always say, apply for a job that you're actually going to be a suitable candidate. Okay, go for something that you could actually do. So you could jump on Google and you could type in the job title you're going for and potential job interview questions. That will be a way to anticipate the questions. Generally, a good job interview would go for, say, about 1 hour maximum. That will be a good indication that you've done well. So within 1 hour, I would say 20 questions would be a suitable amount of time for you to demonstrate your competency and your suitability for a role. If you get an interview and it goes for 10-15 minutes, I would say you probably haven't got the job. So let's be realistic. If your interview somehow goes for 2 hours, and yes, I have had one of those interviews in the past, you also probably got the job because the person wants to get to know you. And look, there's different types of interviewers that you may encounter. You may get the ones that are just sitting there with their checklist, going through each question in a very structured manner. Those kind of interviews are a little bit boring. This can be a bit too formal, but they're following a process, within their business of how they find the right candidate. For me, when I interview job seekers, I'm pretty much going off the cuff, because when I know what I'm recruiting for, I just go from heart and I ask the questions that I would expect the person is going to give me the right answers for. So it's all about, knowledge and experience in a particular job. And you may have an interview, that could be face-to-face, it could be on Zoom, could be on a one-to-one basis, face-to-face, could be a panel interview, could be a phone interview, could be a Skype interview. There are so many interviews that you could be encountering. So you need to kind of be ready for the type of interview. Make sure that if you're interviewing, you have a nice clean background in the behind you so that there's no distractions. Make sure what you're wearing is very simple. If you can avoid patterns, you just got to anticipate what is the environment and straight away ask, is it an online interview or is it face-to-face? Then you'll know how you're going to prep yourself for that particular interview. Okay, so that's how you will be able to perform well when you know the interview that's coming. Okay, also make sure you prepare your answers for your future interviews. So make sure that you don't fumble during the interview. Make sure that you have pre-prepared answers ready to go. So that means that you understand, I guess, the job requirements, the expected job duties. Think about, your experiences in your past employment. Think about, what physical examples can you give that demonstrate that you are good at a particular aspect of your job. So being able to paint a picture of scenarios, just like selection criteria, you will, you'll have a statement and you have to explain what you've done in your job in that particular situation. Okay, so being able to paint the pictures, and so when you anticipate common interview questions, think about what you would do in your job, or what kind of issues you would have had in that particular job or in the future, and how you would have responded or how you have responded in the past. Okay, so be able to anticipate and think like a recruiter, okay, no matter what job you're going for. You also need to prepare potential questions for the interviewer, because your interview is going to finish on a nice note if you show that you had interest from the beginning to the end of the process. So that will show the interviewer that you understand your position in the organization, and you want to know more information. So have a couple of questions up your sleeve. For example, when is the start date of this position, if you don't know? Is there room for career progression? Is there a chance for me to become a leader in the business down the future? Because maybe you are a leader, so you can ask these kind of questions. What sort of training does the organization provide for new employees, or do we have the chance to do further study through the organization? Just depends on obviously what company you're going for, what's the size of the company, what's the industry, and how, I guess, hands-on the job is, or if it's a more mentally driven job. So just come up with a few relevant questions to show that you are interested in the position. Of course, when you're going for interviews, practice. I absolutely can't emphasize that more, that you need to be at home, talk to yourself. Once you have a set of potential interview questions lined up, you need to actually practice asking yourself the question, stand in front of the mirror, and then practice actually regurgitating your potential answers, because the more natural it comes off your tongue, the more you'll be able to perform well in your interview. And it's not stupid if you talk to yourself before the interview. You need to rehearse, because it needs to come off like it's natural from you. You don't want to fumble with your answers or show that you don't understand yourself, or you can't think on the top from your head about your career experiences. So make sure that you practice. Come up with 20 questions, I would say, easily, and do a mock interview yourself on your own. I don't think there's any point getting someone who's just random to come and be your interviewer, because they're not from a recruitment background, so they won't understand the process of practicing. But you could we do mock interviews at Exceptional Tuition and Resumes. So we prepare our job seekers for the interviews that they're going for with specific questions that we think the recruiter is going to ask them, specific for their job that they're applying for and the company. But talking to yourself is fine. It's perfectly fine. I would say when you do your interview, make sure you spend a lot of time on that first 5 minutes of your interview, and make sure you create a positive impression. So depending on the role that you're going for, I would say build the rapport with your interviewer. So you need to be able to think how you're going to crack that ice from being overly formal to being someone that they feel comfortable talking with. Because remember, an interview is a two-way street. So you need to have a little bit of emotional intelligence as a job seeker and be able to think, how do I befriend this interviewer rapidly? Because if your interviewer is too serious in the interview, they're most likely not going to really be nice towards you. Like, let's be frank. You buy from someone you like, and you talk comfortably with someone you like. So you've got to take the opportunity to build that immediate relationship so that it's not awkward, okay? Because as a job seeker, you want to feel comfortable throughout the entire interview process. So in our training sessions that we normally do one-on-one, we teach our job seekers how to break the ice, how to relax. You've got to relax as well as a job seeker. Don't be stiff. And sometimes that's important. What you dress for an interview is going to impact your stiffness. So wear something that's a little bit looser, not too structured. Before you go into an interview, do some stretching. Like, honestly, like, pull those arms backwards, stretch those arms out. Make sure that you are pumped for your interview, because you want to go in there with energy, like positive energy, and show that you want that job. You know, you're not just doing it for the money, you're doing it because you actually want to be there. And recruiters can pick up pretty quickly whether you actually want the job or not, or someone's forced you to do it. So be legitimate, be natural, be your authentic self. Another tip I can give you is get on the same side as the interviewer. So what this basically means is think like a recruiter and show that you appreciate their time, and even mention it in an interview. Thank you so much for your time of having me at this interview, because it shows gratitude that you actually got through to this part of the recruitment process. You know, not everybody gets an interview, so it's kind of lucky if you get through. No, and it's not luck, it's also you probably earned it too, but you know what I mean. Also, you know, ask the interviewer, how's your morning been? You can actually be friendly, and you'll be surprised how much interviewers appreciate that you actually took the time to ask them that question. You know, when you talk about the company, you may like to say that, you know, it would be an honor to join your business because, and give a real reason. It's you know, it's all about fitting in that company culture, and the recruiter is the first person or first point of contact that you make. So essentially, recruiters will be looking for people that align with them. You know, again, as I said that word before, emotional intelligence. It's being able to break the ice, build a relationship, make people comfortable with you so that they can talk to you in the interview and you can talk to them. No worries, mate. So that's what you need to do. Get on the side of the interview and start positive and end positive. Another tip I could give to you is be ready to handle detailed questions, and understand that recruiters are not supposed to ask you questions about your age, your gender, and all those sort of personal characteristics, because they need to focus on the job. If they focus on the other things, it's discrimination. It's a different story. Like if you're running a modeling agency and you specifically need a male in his 20s of a particular culture, then they may ask you that for a modeling agency job because it's an aesthetically driven job that has to have that visual side of the role for a casting. But for all other jobs, for all other traditional jobs, construction jobs, hands-on jobs, clerical jobs, it's irrelevant. Okay? So just be ready that you may somehow get that question, and so you have to think, how are you going to phrase your answer in a way that doesn't demolish your chance of getting the job? Because you just got to think, how do you positively frame yourself? Be assertive in your interview, but not aggressive. So you need to be, I guess, come across as friendly in the interview, but always professional. Don't be passive though. Like, don't sit back and, you know, show no interest. Like, show that you want to be there. Show that you're confident in your answers when you actually are providing answers for the questions. Show that you have some faith in yourself, in your responses, because look, you're going to be up against heaps of job applicants. You've made the cut if you get to the interview. It's just they're trying to find the one or two applicants now to forward through to the position. So make sure you think about taking responsibility for the interview and showing your actual confidence as a job seeker for the role. Okay. Another point is, know what your unique selling points are. So in the marketing terms, we call it USP. For job seekers, that's basically knowing what do you bring to the role that's different to other applicants. Okay, so you may be exceptionally good at dealing with people. You may be the person that people love to confide in. You may be the person that's able to negotiate deals or resolve issues or conflict in the workplace. So what is it that you bring? Maybe you might have three points that is really you excel in a job. For me, I love talking. I love talking on camera. I find it very easy. I love talking on impromptu. I love talking quickly on my feet because it comes natural. And I developed this skill through my 13 years so far career in business training. So that's something I excel in. I guess I excel in also social media marketing. I love it. I do a lot of that in the business itself, and I manage our team in that side as well. So what do you really excel at? What are you strong at? What do you see yourself that you could lead in is what the USP is all about. It's about being able to sell yourself confidently without sounding cocky. Do you know what I mean? Be confident. Another element of being successful in your interviews is be positive. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. You are not going for a funeral, you're going for your future career. So be positive. Make sure that, when you give your answers, that you frame things in such a way that it ends on a positive note. So you need to be honest, obviously. So if they ask you a bit of a question that challenges you, say, yes, I do struggle with this element. However, I do because of this reason. So for me, give you an example. I sometimes bite off more than I can chew. I do this because I'm really excited and love getting involved in everything. See how it's positive? I'm being honest that, yeah, it's a downside, but there's also the positive side. And the motivation for it is positive. So always say that. Closing on a positive note is very important too. So always, saying thank you, showing gratitude at the beginning and the end of your interview. Making sure that, you show your excitement from the job from start to finish. Of course, if your interview is going to go for 1 hour, there will be smaller, dull times, but, take a breath, bring your composure back, and then be positive. And, don't be afraid to smile, because it's like you got to show that you want to be there in that interview. That's really, really important to show the passion and interest in the job that you're applying for. Also, make the most of the question that's commonly coming up at the beginning. Tell me about yourself. So this question gives us a few ways you could approach it. So more so you come from a more professional perspective. So for example, talk about your general career history, or if you're fresh out of university, talk a little bit about your education history. Why are you going for a particular new job? You may like to talk about, how long you've been in the location, for example. Mention what you're really passionate about, or, what's your long-term career objective. Because that kind of gives a little, picture of, what are you doing in the future. So for me, let me give you an example. If I was to think about my career in education and I'm going for a business training role, tell me about yourself. This is how I would do it. I would say, so I'm really passionate about becoming a business trainer for your organization, as I have spent the majority of my career in entrepreneurship. So I've been in business since I was 21, and I've always enjoyed the excitement, the changes, the risks, and of course, the side of running a business. And so for me, business training is a wonderful career for me, because I love sharing my knowledge. I love being open and honest about the positive things about, being an entrepreneur, and also the challenges. I also feel that I really enjoy talking to people. I love educating, and for me, I also enjoy being in front of the camera or in front of live audiences. So that's the reason why I would love to continue my career in business training. That would be one way. So see how I've kind of brought it all together? My actual reason is coming from a passion perspective. Also, when you do your interview, it's important to have the right body language. So, keeping an open body language, not crossing your arms too much in an interview. I mean, sometimes you may sit back a little bit and cross your arms naturally like this, and that's perfectly fine, because you know that sometimes people listen and show that, but try not to have your legs and arms crossed at the same time if you can, because it's very closed. Sometimes, when you sit forward like this shows that you're really attentive, but don't stare the person in the eyes too much. Have a bit of a breather. But yeah, obviously have open body language to show that you are approachable. Maintain eye contact as much as you can, because you want to show that you want to be there and you are not a threat to the recruiter. Be ready for those behavioral based questions. So this is, again, the example questions. So being able to describe a scenario and how did you respond positively to the situation. So when you answer these questions, you're reflecting back into your past career and you're thinking about what you went through, who's involved, what did you do, and how did you respond. And the respond is very important because that shows your ability to deal with situations. So as a job seeker, depending on what your role is, you may have challenges. So be able to talk about those challenges, but don't dog the people in the scenario, okay? Don't dog your old boss, don't dog your teachers, don't dog your colleagues. Like, you just need to be positive, even though you may be explaining a negative situation you've had. So at the end of the day, you have to maintain professionalism when you talk about your experience and your behavior in how you responded to a situation. So it's just like when you applied with the selection criteria for some roles, you follow the STAR method, which is situation and task and achievements and results. Okay, STAR method. So how did you respond to a situation is what the behavior questions are. And yeah, that's that. And send a thank you note at the end of the interview to make sure that you are showing gratitude, as I said before. So simple email is all it takes. Say thank you so much for your time. I appreciate having the interview and I look forward to hearing from you in the future. That's it. It's just courtesy. It's just like when you apply for a job, and whether you got the job or you got a future interview or you weren't successful, you as a job seeker, I know, love to receive unsuccessful emails or letters. So as a job seeker in the interview process, also be thankful and show it in writing. And my final advice to you is, don't lose heart if you don't succeed in that very first interview, okay? Because there is a skill to succeeding in interviews, and it comes with plenty of practice. So for you might apply for 20 jobs. You might get 2-3 interviews. Do your best in all the interviews. Be confident, be yourself, and just keep trying, because you will get the job one day that you want. And you might have to take a few steps, go through a few jobs along the way to get to that job. But in terms of the interview, you just have to keep on trying, keep your composure, maintain your professionalism, and in all aspects, keep your passion alive for your career and the job you want, because you will succeed in your interview. And I hope that today we've given you some tips that will build your confidence. My name is Monique Jeremiah, and I'm the Director of Exceptional Tuition and Resumes. We do interview training one-on-one on Skype if you need a little bit more confidence or a bit of boost for your future performance. We can help you one-on-one to prepare for the interview if you have an interview lined up now, or if you just want general interview training like what we did today to help you really perform at your optimal and get the job you wish. So please contact Exceptional Tuition and Resumes. Our website's www.exceptionaltuitionandresumes.com.au, and I wish you all the best and thank you so much for your time and good luck in your careers.